Welcome to the Unit 2 Ratios Test tutorial. We will be going through all the questions on your review. So make sure you have your review beside you and are ready to start. In Part A, we are writing and identifying ratios. So first, we are going to write the ratio for each problem and then identify it as part to part or part to whole. So there are 43 girls and 25 boys in the Valley View Middle School chorus, and a chorus is just another name for a choir. Write the ratio of boys in the chorus to the total number of chorus members. Well, we know that there are 25 boys, 2, and then it says total. So to figure out the total, we would have to do the 43 girls plus the 25 boys, which gives me 68 students. So that would be 68. So you can write it with a colon, you can write it with the word 2, or you can write it as a fraction. All of those are correct answers. So this type of ratio is a part to whole ratio. Okay, of the 75 boys at Hillbrook who played spring sport, 30 run track, 25 play baseball, and 20 play lacrosse. Write the ratio of baseball players to lacrosse. So I go find my baseball players. There's 25, 2, and we need to find the lacrosse players, and there are 20. So this is 25 to 20, or written as 25 with the word 2, 20, or as a fraction of 25 over 20. And this is a part to part, because part of the boys are playing baseball and part of the boys are playing lacrosse. Okay, so part B is creating equivalent ratios. So we know for 7 yellow marbles, there are 12 green marbles. But if we had 60 green marbles, how many yellow marbles would I need to keep the same ratio? So we look at scaling up because we went from 12 to 6. And when we scale up, we are multiplying. So I'm going to multiply by 5 because 12 times 5 is 60. And what we do at the bottom of the ratio, we have to do the top. So 7 times 5 is 35. Okay, moving on to our next question. We have 2 4/10 centimeters is 1 inch. But we want to know how many centimeters is 26 inches. So to get from 1 inch to 26 inches, we would multiply by 26. And then, so that means we would have to do the same thing to the top of the ratio. So you're probably going to have to come over to the side and actually multiply this out. Remember, ignore the decimal when multiplying. So 4 times 6 is 24, carry the 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the 2 is 10. Placeholder, 2 times 6 is 12. Carry a 1, and 2 times 2 is 4, plus that 1 is 5. And then we add. So we have 624, but we have one number behind the decimal, so there should be one number behind our decimal in our answer. So this should be 62 4/10 centimeters. Okay, now we are looking at some scaling down problems. So remember, scaling down, we are going from a bigger number to a smaller number. We are going to divide. So in this problem, we're going from 9 gallons to 1 gallon. So that's dividing by 9. So we also would need to divide 261 by 9. So 261 divided by 9. 9 will go into 26 2 times, which gives me 18. 26 minus 18 is 8. Bring down the 1. 9 goes into 81. 9 times exactly, with nothing left over. So this would be 29 miles. Okay, this is also a unit rate because we went to 1 gallon. So just remember, unit rate means we're going down to 1. Okay, the next question, we are also scaling down. We have 7 hours. We are going down to 1 hour. So that is dividing by 7. So we also need to do 385 divided by 7. So set up your long division. So 7 goes into 38 5 times, which gives me 35. Subtract 38 minus 35 is 3. Bring down the 5. 7 goes into 35 5 times exactly. And so you have 55 miles in 1 hour, which is also a unit rate because it is in 1 hour. Okay, on part C, we are trying to determine if 2 ratios are equivalent. So you can either scale up both ratios to the same number, or you can simplify them. I prefer to simplify them like you simplify fractions. So I have 18 cups of sugar to 20 cups of chocolate. So I can divide both of these by 2 because 2 is a factor for both. So this will give me 9 cups to 10. Then I look at 24 and 30, and I could divide both of these by 2 as well, but I also could divide them by 6. So if I divide both of them by 6, that would be 4, and 30 divided by 6 is 4/5. 4/5 and 9/10 are not equivalent. So these are not equivalent ratios. Okay, on the next problem, we have 8 pints of red paint to 24 pints of blue paint and 12 pints of red paint to 36 pints of blue paint. So if I look at 8 and 24, I know 4 can go into both of these, or 8, or 2. So if I divide both of them by 4, this will be 2 to 6. Okay, which also means I could divide it again because this is not in simplest form. Divide them both by 2 is 1/3. And I knew to divide them by 2 because they're both even numbers. Okay, 12 and 36. Some of you might be like, oh, 4, 4. So I can divide them by 4 as well. So this will become 3. And 36 divided by 4 is 9. Well, that is not in simplest form because both of them are divisible by 3. So that gives me 1/3 as well. So they simplify to the same thing. So these are equivalent ratios because they simplify to the same number. Okay, in part D, we are representing ratios in tables and graphs. So the first thing I asked you to do is write each point on the graph as a ratio of the total cost to the number of pairs of stockings. So you have to look at each of these points. So here's my first point. So if you notice, this is counting by 2s. So I see that is $6 because it's cost over here for 1 pair of stockings. So that's one of my ratios. Then I could do the same thing here, and that is 12 to 2. Okay, so then you go to the next point, and you can see it crosses at 3 and 18, so that'll be $18 for 3 stockings, and then you can see that the last one is 24 to 4. So it says, how much would it cost for 5 pairs? So if we know that it's $6 for 1, we can figure out what 5 would be by multiplying by 5. So we also multiply the 6 by 5, and we see that that is $30 for 5 pairs. And then we can do the same thing for the last one. We have $6 for 1 pair, but we need 8 pairs. So times 8 times 8. So that is $48 for 8 pairs. Okay, on to the next table. It says, Miss Jen is the teacher of a preschool class at Kids Unlimited Daycare. She must split children's time between playing and learning. For every 30 minutes, the children will spend 18 minutes playing and 12 minutes learning. Complete the table. So remember, with tables, they are in a constant ratio. So if you think, how do I get from 30 to 90? That's times 3. So I can also do 18 times 3, which will give you 54, and 12 times 3, which is 36. And we can check to make sure our answer is correct by doing 36 plus 54 and see if it gets us 90, which it does. So this time, so remember, whatever row, so we needed to figure out this, so we used the number in this row. So this time we're needing to get to here, so we need to use this number. So 12 to 48 is times 4. So then we have to do 30 times 4, which is 120. And we also need to do 18 times 4, which gives us 72. Now we have to figure out, how do I get from 18 to 144? So we know it has to be more than 4, so let's try 18 times 7. So that is 56, so close. So if we did 18 times 8, as you can see, that will get us the 144. So I have to do 30 times 8, which is 240, and 12 times 8, which gives us 16, gives us 96. Next, you have to complete a table and then graph the table in the graph below. So it says Austin burns 120 calories per 30 minutes. So first saying, put that in your table. Then you can figure out, well, what would 15 be? So divide that by 2. So divide this by 2, which gives me 60. And then 15 times 5 gives me 75. So 60 times 5 gives me 300. And then 15 times 3 gives me 45. So 60 times 3 is 180. So on this graph, you're going to have to estimate. So this is 15, 45. So first I'm going to do 30. So 30, and this is counting by 25. So this is 25, 50, 75, 100. So 25, 50, 75, 100, and next would be 125. So your point should be about right there. 1560, so 1560 is going to be right in between there. 45, 180. So you can go 45 to 100, 25, 50, 75. So 180 is going to be in between. And then what's the last one? 45 or 75 would be here because it's adding 15 to 300. So you can go exactly to that one. So 75 to 300. And it should make a pretty straight line. Mine's a little curvy because I don't have a ruler on this thing. So the next question, the problem says, how many calories will Austin burn if he does weight training for 1 hour? Well, if you look at your table, the table is in minutes. So let's think about how many minutes are in an hour. There are 60 minutes in an hour. So let's change this to 60 minutes. Well, we know that 30 minutes is 120 calories, but we need 60 minutes. So always write your proportions. How do I get from 30 to 60? You times that by 2. So you would have to do the same thing here. So it'd be 240 calories. So we have one more problem from the last problem that was on the last slide with the table. And I want you to remember that it was 30 minutes was 120 calories, but we have 80 calories to get to. But if you think, I could divide both of these by 3, and that would give me 10 minutes is 40 calories. So now I can get times 2 gives me 20 minutes. Okay, next we have a ratio table to complete. It's the exact same way we did the last one. So this is 12 times 4 is 48. So I'm going to have to do 17 times 4, which in this problem would be 68. Okay, so then you have 7 times 3 gives me 17 times 3, sorry, gives me 51. So I have to do 12 times 3, which is 36. And then I have 12 times 5, which is 60. So I would have to do 17 times 5, which is 85. We are on the last problem. So we are on the problem using our double number line. So remember, with the double number line, whatever you are counting by, you have to count the entire way, that entire way. So if this is 12, I have to figure out what can I count by. So try something. 3, 6, oh, nope, that won't give it to me. So erase, back up and erase. Okay, so try 4. 4, 8, oh look, 12, that works. 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44. So this one's 9. So you will need 27 blocks for 36. That's how you use your double number line. So if you need to review for this anymore, need to do some more practice problems, come see me tomorrow morning in tutorials. It'll be a closed tutorial only for those reviewing for the test. I hope to see you there.